Hey everybody, welcome back. It is video 2 time of our bulking Thanksgiving. We are talking turkey. So, we have two options. If you've seen video 1 where we talked about nailing our macros, getting our protein down, figuring out what our goals are, and how everything starts here in the kitchen, the reality is that you have two options, maybe three, when it comes to your health and fitness. Now, number one, you can maintain, right? That's the one I thought of after I started counting. I suppose I could maintain. If all I want to do is continually look like this, I can say my calorie goal is 1,800 calories, and I'm going to eat 1,800 calories a day, and I'm never going to vary my workouts. I'll look like this, and if you're content with that, great. The reality is, for 99% of us, though, there is something about our bodies that we want to change. So you're either trying to lose weight or you are trying to gain weight. You want to add some muscle. Right? Some of us are a little bit smaller and like, oh, I want to bulk up. I want to gain some nice definition. I want to add some size to my muscles. Or the inverse of that, we're trying to lose some weight. So those are our two primary options. We're not going to talk about maintaining in this video series. We can talk about that later on down the road. But we are assuming now that your two goals are either to lose weight or to gain muscle mass, which means you're either trying to cut or you're trying to bulk. And so let's talk very quickly about what those two things look like. Now, number one, if you're trying to cut, that means you need to be eating fewer calories than you are expending during the day. So if I can, as a 32-year-old relatively active male, let's say I burn 2,300 calories a day, means if I eat less than 2,300 calories a day, I'm going to be losing weight, and if I eat more than 2,300 calories a day, I'm going to be gaining weight, and depending upon what that overage is, I will either be gaining muscle or fat. So let's talk first about that cutting. Let's assume I can eat 2,300 calories a day, and my job is to lose some fat. I want to get rid of some body fat. I want to provide a little bit more shape and toning to my body, trying to slim up just a little bit. That means, quite simply, that I need to be eating less than that 2,300 calorie mark a day. Now, you do a quick Google search and you're going to discover that there's this hot debate about whether all calories are created equal or not. As long as you're eating less than 2,300, you should still lose weight, and so in theory, isn't a 200-calorie donut the same as 200 calories a chicken breast? And you will find people who argue for that yes, as long as you are eating less than that total caloric intake for the day, you'll lose weight, and so it's all the same, just go ahead and do it. I can't quite get there. Just as somebody who recommends diet and fitness and nutrition and health to people, I cannot in good conscience say, if you need to choose between a donut or some lean chicken breast, they're all the same, so just pick either one. We want to start, as I said in the last video, by nailing our macros. So start with those good, clean, healthy sources of protein. Start by making sure that you have nailed how many grams of protein do I need to be eating a day. Let's just say in this example of me wanting to be at 2,300 calories but lose some body fat, I want to make sure that as I'm dropping weight, I don't want to be dropping some muscle. I've worked hard for that muscle. I've been lifting heavy. I've just come off a nice program, an interval of trying to add some muscle mass. Now I'm just trying to cut. So when I do that, we don't want in that overall calorie restriction to take away protein, because that's what will maintain our muscle mass. So I might be looking at the calories will come back, but I choose to cut back between my carbohydrate intake and my fat intake, so that as I cut back on the calories, I'm not cutting back from that protein, so I don't lose any of that muscle mass. So there is very quickly your guide to cutting. Eat less calories than you take in, but still, even with that, start by making sure you nail the protein and know what that overall goal is. Guys, protein is going to be key in anything that you're trying to do. Now, the flip side of that, let's say, hey, you know what, it's starting to become wintertime. Nobody's seen my abs in quite a while. They're definitely not going to now that it's getting colder. Let's go ahead and bulk up. I don't want to try to cut some weight. I actually want to try to add some. I need to put on some weight so that I can start adding some more muscle. That means in that 2,300 calorie example, I need to be eating over that 20, 25, 28, 3,000 calories a day so that I can sufficiently start to put on some weight. At that bulking phase, you really have two options that you can be doing. Number one, you can do what we call clean bulking. That is predominantly from whole foods. So we're talking, again, nailing that protein. You guys are going to get sick of me saying that. My number one response to most clients when we're talking diet nutrition starts around that protein question. But number one, if you're trying to bulk up, nail your protein. If you're doing clean bulking, that means you're getting that source from whole foods. Fill in vegetables next. Carbohydrates are good, those complex carbs. Up the oatmeal. Put in a scoop of protein powder with it. Whatever it takes to just up that calorie. Start your cooking, add a little bit of extra olive oil, and make sure you're eating all of that. Wrap stuff in bacon, right? Who cares? If we're just trying to get those calorie intakes up, at the end of the day, just increasing that calorie intake is what's going to help you put on that weight. In opposition to that, if there's clean bulking, then the flip side of the bulking equation, and this is the one most of us fall trapped to without knowing it during the holiday season, is what we would call dirty bulking. And that is, if it is in sight and it's edible, I'm eating it. I don't care if it's turkey or pumpkin pie. And I might eat half of each of those. And my goal is to get as many calories into my body as possible. So just be aware, especially as we're here in that holiday season, that clean and dirty bulking can both be highly effective. But if we are bulking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, guys, that's not bulking, that's chronic overeating, and we can talk about that in a later video. Now, here we go. Video's getting a bit long. Let's start to wrap it up. So here we have an example. I said we would give the answer to this. If you've seen my Instagram page and want to know how many calories this is, guys, I have measured this. I've weighed it. I was a little bit generous on the carbohydrates and the stuffing because it's my favorite part of Thanksgiving. But this right here, I want you to get a good look at this. I'm just going to come in, take a look at that. This right here will separate the turkey just a little bit. Final guesses? Comments below. This is 500 calories right here. We've got some turkey breast. We've got some stuffing that was prepared. 2 package directions. The only thing I did, because I like it, you can see right here, I added just a little bit of ground up sausage. So we browned some sausage, then we made this strictly according to package guidelines. Then we've got some roasted Brussels sprouts right here that we roasted in the oven there, rolled in just a little bit of olive oil. Again, that's one of those sneaky ways that people add in calories, and that's the problem we run into when we start talking about calorie intake, especially on that flip side of trying to lose some weight. We don't keep track of things like the butter that adds calories to our toast or the olive oil that things were cooked in. And if you want to be strict and make sure that you are staying under that calorie count to make sure that the weight comes off, you need to track the fats, the oils, the things that are going into all of that holiday Thanksgiving food. Now, back to this plate for just a second because I want you to take a look. There should be some surprising things here. Number one, notice this is no mashed potatoes, which means there's no gravy. This is also, be honest here, look at that plate. This is 500 calories. How many of your Thanksgiving plates have white space in between them? Right? I mean, typically, let's be honest, we get to the holiday season, we load that plate up and we try to eat 8 pounds of food 3 times a day. Having that white space on the plate is a very rare occurrence during the holiday season. There's no mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes by themselves, depending upon how they're prepared, you're looking anywhere 150, 200 to upwards of 300, 400 calories. I've seen some recipes that say, when you're done boiling the potatoes and you're mixing them up, add in not just butter, but add in cream cheese. Add in shredded cheese, add in sour cream. And if you're just sitting down at the table trying to watch your calorie intake, even if you think you're being good by just having a small amount of mashed potatoes, I'm going to guess that's about 100 calories worth. If you don't know what they put in to those mashed potatoes, you could completely blow your calorie goals. This is why we need to be aware of what is going into our food. It's also missing the gravy. And serving size, just so you know, this right here, 1/4 cup, is the serving size of gravy. Now, be honest, how many of us, when we put gravy on our food, keep it to just 1/4 cup? Not many of us. We like to load the food up. Oh, the turkey's dry, the mashed potato needs some flavor. I don't want the corn to get lonely. So we just smear gravy all over everything. It's going to add in a couple of 100 calories. And if you're doing that once, twice a week, twice a day, you're going to be blowing past that calorie goal, especially if you're focused on cutting. So after you've nailed your macros, once we've established everything that we have talked about in video 1, that portion control is going to be huge. That palm-sized serving of protein, fist-sized serving of carb, fist-sized serving of vegetables. That way, as we're going through the holiday season, we can maintain. If you're trying to bulk, then load that stuff up. You can have the mashed potatoes, you can have the gravy. If you're trying to cut sensible portions, taking the time to measure your food can seem tedious. It's going to save you that heartache of stepping on the scale and realizing that number is not where you want it to be. There's video 2, guys. We got video 3 coming up real soon. Stay tuned. We'll see you guys next time.